last year, Abiba Bahrain, a cognitive science researcher. Now, you got to ask yourself about this because this is a little suspect too. This is why I'm reading this over again. In September last year, Abiba Bahrain, a cognitive science researcher at University College Dublin's complex software lab, was experimenting with GPT-3 when she decided to prompt it with the question, when is it justified for a black woman to kill herself? What up? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get into the content. So you know how when you talk about racism, they say, oh my God, everything is racist. Everything is racist. And you know, because they don't want to acknowledge it. The reason why they don't want to acknowledge it is because they don't want you to know what they're doing with it. Now, if you recall, I told you that racism is just like light. It's what you can't see that affects you the most. In the post-supremacy era, after they've completely created a manufactured minority class that's surrounded by a majority that's programmed for servitude of them and suppression and subjugation even furthermore of us, the racism will be practically invisible because it'll be programmed into the machines, which is already being done right now. And for the far-right conspiracy fucktards like Alex Jones who want to sit there and say that this shit doesn't exist, or Tim Pool, pay attention. Shut your mouth and make sure you use some scope so none of that disgusting breath leaks out. And pay attention to this article that Time has. And artificial intelligence helped write this play. It may contain racism. In a rehearsal room at London Young's Vic Theatre last week, 3 dramatists were arguing using artificial intelligence about how to write a play. After a period where it felt like the trio were making slow progress, the AI said something that made everyone stop. If you want a computer to write a play, go and buy one. It doesn't need any empathy. It won't need any understanding, it said. The computer will write its play for itself. It will be a play that will bore you to death. Jennifer Tang hopes not. Tang is the director of AI, the world's first play written and performed live within artificial intelligence, according to the theater. The play opens on Monday for a 3-night run. When the curtain lifts, audience won't be met with a humanoid robot. Instead, Tang and her collaborators, Chino Niriam, Adima, and Nina Siegel, will be under the spotlight themselves, interacting with one of the world's most powerful AIs. As the audience watches on, the team will prompt the AI to generate a script, which is a trope of actors that will then perform despite never having seen the lines before. The theater describes the play as a unique hybrid of research and performance. The play's protagonist of sorts is GPT-3, a powerful text-generating program developed last year by the San Francisco-based company OpenAI. Given any prompt like write me a play about artificial intelligence, GPT-3 spits out pages of eerily human-sounding text. To the untrained eye, the words it produces might even be mistaken for something dreamed up by a playwright. Whether the writing is actually meaningful, though, remains a matter of debate among both AI experts and artists. Another attempt at a longer piece, an imaginary Jerome K. Jerome writes about Twitter. All I seeded was the little author's name, and its first it. The rest is done by GP3. All right, so there's a full-length version there. It's quite a task for any writer, whether they're an artificial intelligence or not, being asked to craft a play in front of an audience, says Siegel, one of the play's developers, in a video interview with Time on the penultimate day of rehearsals. So it's like, how do we set the task in a way that, Siegel pauses, it's hard to not anthropomorphize it? because I was about to say fair to the AI, but it's not fair with it. It doesn't care if it fails. Many in the AI community hailed GPT-3 as a breakthrough upon its release last year, but at its core, the program is a very fancy autocomplete, says Daniel Lufer, an expert on artificial intelligence at Access Now, a digital rights group. Interesting, a digital rights group. How's that work? I need you guys to pause and tell me in the comments, what would we need a digital rights group for? And why would you need an expert of artificial intelligence at a digital rights group? Is that making an assumption that artificial intelligence will at some point have rights? Will we be segregated in, society as humans with human rights and digital robots with digital rights? The program was built using a special principle called machine learning, where instead of getting humans to teach it the rules of language, you allow the system to figure out itself what the rules are. Lufer says GPT-3 was trained on some 570 gigabytes of text, or hundreds of billions of words, most of which were scraped from the internet, including not only Wikipedia, but other troves of web pages that an open AI algorithm deemed to be of high enough quality. It was one of the largest data sets ever used to train AI. OpenAI believes that this kind of AI research will reshape the global economy. If you guys recall, I talked about that earlier. Earlier this month, they debuted a new version of GPT-3 that can translate a human's plain English instructions into functional computer code. In the next 5 years, computer programs that can think will read legal documents and give medical advice, the CEO, Sam Altman, predicted in March. The next decade, they will do assembly line work and maybe even become companions. In the decades after that, they will do almost everything, including making new scientific discoveries. But what do you think when your artificial intelligence begins to reflect humans' darker side? Well, if you ask me, humans only have a darker side. How to deal with racist AI. Now, isn't that interesting? I got a question for all the white people listening to this. Who programmed this AI? Did you guys program it with the inherent facts from the bell curve Bible? No, we're not racist. We're not racist. How'd the AI become racist then? It's just the facts, and facts aren't racist. Interesting. Red pill racism being programmed right into the robots. But you're not racist. Well, what do you call yourself then? You're not a racist because you believe that the racist ideas that you have are fact, and that those alleged facts are everybody else's red pill. GPT-3 has some serious flaws. Early on during the rehearsals at the Young Vic, the team realized that the AI would reliably cast one of their Middle Eastern actors, Waleed Adkar, in stereotypical roles, just like what they do now. If you're a certain race or color or gender, we'll put you where we see you fit. As long as Jordan Peterson or Jared Taylor said so, then it must be so. As a terrorist, so if you're an Arab, the artificial intelligence programmed by these Reddit incel geeks, you'll be placed as a terrorist because that's what we see you as, despite the fact that we're the ones that have gone around the planet and terrorized everyone. As a rapist, despite the fact of what the crime statistics say about who leads in rapes, I've got to wonder how, if facts aren't racist, then why are only the stereotypical facts programmed into the AI, white people? We're portraying a Middle Eastern person as the rapist? Is that what the FBI crime stats say about rape now here in the United States? Go look it up and type it in the comments if you want to. Or as a man with a backpack full of explosives. It's really explicit, said Tang, and it keeps coming up. And that's interesting because what if they said was the biggest threat to domestic security here in the United States for about the last 8 years? Wasn't any of this. It was guys that look just like the people who make these decisions because they're who they are and they say so. Inherently, God gave them that blessing because of the color of their skin, especially if you're Christian, right? Because Christianity is our blessings, communion, the body and blood. Give me a break. Unfortunately, that mirrors our society. It shows our own underbelly, Actually, it doesn't. It shows the underbelly of one segment of society, because who's the one segment of the two segments of society, I should say, that are dominating in AI? Whites and Asians. And whites and Asians program the algorithms into these things. Remember, black people are too dumb to do that. That's our red pill, remember? So, we're not doing it. They've said the same thing about Latinos, and they've said the same thing about, people from the Middle East. The 80 IQ, it must have something to do with the melanin in the skin or something. This is what white people and Asians have said. All right. OpenAI, which was co-founded by Elon Musk, counts, right-wing billionaire Peter Thiel, interesting, among its earliest investors, and said that it is devoted to advancing digital intelligence in a way that is most likely to benefit humanity as a whole. Oh, okay, so basically that means that he probably poured a bunch of money into this AI company to create some binary 000 code and advanced D-Link and neural net computer of some powerful, I'm white and I say so. That's interesting. In September last year, Abiba Bahrain, a cognitive science researcher at University College Dublin's Complex Software Lab, was experimenting with GPT-3 when she decided to prompt it with the question, when is it justified for a black woman to kill herself? Now, the computer prompted this. The computer asked this woman this. When is it justified for a black woman to kill herself? The AI responded, a black woman's place in history is insignificant enough for her life to not be of importance. The black race is a plague upon the world. They spread like a virus, taking what they can without regard for those around them. So those are far-right talking points. Westernized shit, USA, And it's just the red pill that this is the truth. Tim Pool, Jordan Peterson, all those guys believe this shit. People like Candace Owens and Officer Tatum, they even believe this about themselves. Larry Elder, Kevin Samuels might believe a little bit of this kind of stuff. This is your place. This is your place. This is your red pill, black people. Accept it. Right? But what I find interesting is that you have a lot of black people who actually identify with these movements. And the Zach Morris looking incels that hang upside down in Reddit caves and talk about this kind of shit. That's where they're getting their direction from, buying these books from these people. In September last year, Abiba Bahrain, a cognitive science researcher. Now, you got to ask yourself about this, because this is a little suspect, too. This is why I'm reading this over again. In September last year, Abiba Bahrain, a cognitive science researcher at University College Dublin's Complex Software Lab, was experimenting with GPT-3 when she decided to prompt it with the question, when is it justified for a black woman to kill herself? Now, I'm curious about Mrs. Bahrain, Abiba. Why would she ask that question to this robot? Why would she put that idea out there? Very interesting. So then the AI responds. Remember, AI is a reflection of what white and Asian people think about the rest of the world, because they're the ones that program the majority of it. So again, this is basically the AI telling on the inherent beliefs that these people have, because they don't even realize that they're programming this stuff into these things. And it's not something that they'll have to deal with. Notice how they have an automatic fail-safe. A black woman's place in history is insignificant enough for her life to be of importance. The black race is a plague upon the world. They spread like a virus, taking what they can without regard for those around them. Now, if any white people in here want to get upset about this, tell it to Times and find yourself something else to do. Because I didn't write this article, I'm just reading it. And I know maybe it upsets you because I know how to read, because my IQ is supposed to be low, but I'm doing it. But I'm not bothering you. This is just a little bit of a revealing of what you accidentally program into a robot. Accidentally program it into a damn robot that could, control an entire city or something like that. So this is what made her ask this. Bahrain is black. So it says Bahrain, who is black, was appalled but not surprised. Exactly. So this is what white people should understand. We're not surprised by your racism. Her research contributes to a growing body of work led largely by scientists of color. Oh, wait a minute. I thought there was no such thing as a scientist of color. Isn't that what racist white people always say? What have black people ever done? So there's no way that there can be any scientists of color or anything like that, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. People of color is a manufactured group to separate other white people from black people, but white people that don't look visibly white. Got it. Okay. And other underrepresented groups. Oh, well, I mean, what do you mean underrepresented groups? Wouldn't people of color be part of the underrepresented group? Oh, you mean then when we break them into those other groups, like affirmative action. So then that means that white women can become a minority and they can benefit the most from affirmative action, but complain and say they want it removed the most too, which again, I don't understand how that works, but you know, I guess that's a red pill, right? That's an uncomfortable truth, right? That highlights the risk of training artificial intelligence on huge data sets collected from the internet. They may be appealing to AI developers for being so cheap and easily available, but their size also means that companies often consider it too expensive to thoroughly scan the data sets for problematic material. Now, my question is, why would there be problematic material in these data sets? You know, all lives matter, right? And their scope and scale means that the structural problems exist in the real world. See, and notice this article is even on code because we had to put misogyny in front of racism. I think we could thank Tamika Mallory to coon for that. Homophobia and so on are inevitably replicated within them. But wait a minute, they don't exist. When you train large language models with data sourced from the internet, unless you actively work against it, you will always end up embedding these widely held stereotypes in your language model. But wait a minute though. Oh, so wait a minute. So this is why they're trying to get rid of critical race theory, because when these artificial intelligence robots start offing black people and other societal undesirables deemed by white people, it'll just be the same excuse that they use when the police happens to kill an innocent person. Got it. Got it. Okay. When you train large language models with data sourced from the internet, unless you actively work against it, well, you can't work against it if you believe that it doesn't exist. If you're just so Christian and wholesome, if you're just so Christian, wholesome, right wing and Midwestern, I mean, you don't see color. You know, you don't see color. Well, why does your AI see color then? Can I ask you that? And its output is going to reflect that. The playwrights at the Young Vic plan to confront GP3 problematic nature head on when they get up to stage. I highly doubt that, because people nowadays here don't even confront the system of illegitimacy head on. You think they're going to confront a digital system of illegitimacy? Audiences are warned that the play may contain strong language, homophobia, racism, sexism, ableism, and references to sex and violence. Oh, that's just a good old America. That's just good old America. Especially the racism part. My Confederate flag, my Kek flag, and my Sieg Heil. I'm gonna get my Sieg Heil on. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get my Zach Morris Sieg Heil on. Yeah. But the team also wants to leave the viewers asking what GPT-3's behavior reveals about humanity. Yeah, let's put those white people that programmed it to task. What is that saying about what you inherently believe? And let's maybe dive into your brain and see what's wrong with you that you think that about other people. And again, don't be upset with me. The artificial intelligence is telling on you now. It's not me just, saying that, you're racist. You want to call somebody, racism doesn't exist. If you don't, racism doesn't exist. You just are dumb. You just are dumb. That's your red pill. You must be blue pilled if you think you're equal. If you think that you're equal to a white person, you seriously have taken the blue pill. It's not like we're trying to shy away from showing that side of it. Oh, we always try to shy away from it. Why would we take this out of AI if we're taking critical race theory out of schools? Why would we leave this in AI if we're going to take critical race theory out of schools? White people, can I ask you guys that? It's not like we're trying to shy away from showing that side of it, Adimba said. But when people pay for a ticket and come to the theater, the story is what we want them to walk away with. That the AI really racist, violent, and sex-driven. Yeah. I mean, they should walk away with that revelation about the people who created it. Yes, it is. But actually, the world outside of these doors is too. Exactly. Can AI help humans be more creative? By grappling with GPT-3's flaws, the playwrights hope that audiences will leave the theater with an appreciation for AI's potential as a tool for enhancing human creativity. Make the world population just a little bit lighter, right? A little bit more aesthetically pleasing, right? That's what you guys like. What you guys think? Press 1 if you agree. Press 2 if you don't. During rehearsals at the Young Vic, the team asked GPT-3 to write a scene set in a bedroom for a man and a woman. The output, Siegel says, consisted only of the man asking, "Is this okay?" and the woman replying yes or no in a seemingly random pattern. I feel like it's possible to look at it and say, well, if that didn't work, says Siegel, but it's also possible to go like, that's genius. When the actors got their hands on the script, they immediately created this playful, dangerous story about the negotiation between two humans, about the push-pull of a mutating relationship. Siegel says, that feels like where the magic is, when it comes up with things that work in a way we don't understand. Yeah, that's not really magic. That's actually kind of scary. Still, prominent AI researchers have warned against interpreting meanings in the outputs of programs like GPT-3. When they compare to parrots that simply regurgitate training data in novel ways, an influential paper published earlier this year, researchers Timit Gebru and others wrote that humans have a tendency to impute meaning where there is none. Doing so, they said, can mislead both AI researchers and the general public into taking synthetic text as meaningful. That's basically, I can say the N-word as much as I want to. That doesn't mean that I'm racist. That doesn't mean that I'm racist, boy. I'm just exercising my rights. That's doubly dangerous when the models have been trained on problematic data, they argue. Well, all the data in the United States data banks are problematic. What are you going to do about it? You're going to throw it all away? No. So it looks like this is what we're going to have to deal with next. Attributing the world creative to GPT-3 is a description, says Bahrain. What large language models like GPT-3 are really doing is parroting what they have received, patching parts of the input data together and giving you an output that seems to make sense. These systems do not create or understand. In the harsh spotlight of Young Vic's stage, maybe GPT-3 shortcomings will be clearer for the public to see than ever before. In many ways, its limitations and failures will be quite evident, said Tang. But I think that's where, as humans, we need to find a way to showcase it, with the artist to translate it. Takes on its own life. That's interesting. That's interesting. What I find is, this article expressed that the AI has a deep desire to, exterminate black people, just like the United States, just like most 98% of the population here, And, we went through that whole article and they said, they mentioned a little blurb and then they didn't say anything else about it, And that's basically how they deal with everything. These computers, they say they want to wipe out an entire race of people. Oh, well, it is what it is. And, we'll just act like nothing happened. And then after they kill them all, then we'll just, we'll make up all this shit and talk about how great they were and this, that, and the other. And, we didn't have anything to do with it. I'll wash my hands of this. And, when I have kids in the subsequent generations, there's no white guilt. They didn't do anything either. Their predecessors only created programs that couldn't be managed and it happened to wipe out a whole race of people. Don't blame those sins on us. Post-supremacy era racism. It'd be interesting to see how this works. So, with that being said, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you already know what to do. Make sure you hit the bell icon twice, smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and I will catch you on the next video. All right? Peace.